Hey, what's up everyone? Thank you for joining me for another YouTube discussion video today. In this video we're going to talk about Nintendo's future. As you know, they had an investors meeting. I think it was a couple of days ago actually. And a lot of stuff gets brought up in these investor meetings. They talk about, whatever the investors choose to ask them questions on. And something that's kind of been tossed around here for probably, I don't know, maybe the last 3-4 years is, when is the next generation Switch coming? Next generation Switch hardware, next generation. That's pretty much been the whole focal point of what they've talked about. And an interesting thing is that Mr. Fubuki, I think that's his name. I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head right now. He's basically always just kind of dodged the question. He's always been basically just like, no, we're in the middle of this, which is hardware. We don't have any plans to make anything new. Or, we're always bringing new, exciting stuff. Nintendo's always working on something new in the background. But, pretty much nothing else. But this time he basically said no comment to it. Like, he didn't want to affect the sales of the Switch that are going on now. But I think that the sales are going to start to become affected. 2022 is going to have to just be a deciding factor. I really do think that when the sequel to the Breath of the Wild, the next Zelda game, as I call it, because we know it's not going to be Breath of the Wild 2, let's face it. It's going to have its own name like they usually always do. So the next Zelda game is definitely going to continue to sell Switch. I know that for a fact. That's just going to be what happens. But something else that was sort of brought up after the fact is not only did he say no comment, but if we bring this up here, we will see that he also sort of talked a little bit about the company's experiences with the last generation of systems and moving on to the next generation. So when Furukawa was asked about Nintendo's transition to the next console, what did I call him? Fubuki? That was weird. He said the question of whether we will be able to just as smoothly transition from the Nintendo Switch to the next generation of hardware is a major concern for us. And really, we already know that they don't mean major concern. They mean it's more of a serious thing that they're doing. Like it's obviously in the back of their minds. They're thinking about it, and the reason why they are doing that is because of what he says here. He basically added in that based upon the company's experience with the Wii and DS, it's clear that one of the obstacles in the imminent future is addressing how to transition to the next console. Which just seems, kind of easy to do for me, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And he basically references how the Switch already has a massive player base, and I'm sure they're worried about that drop off, like what we saw with the Wii, where so many people had the Wii, but they didn't have a Wii U, or so many people had the DS, but they didn't have a 3DS, nearly as much. And it says while we continue to launch new software, we'll also provide services that use Nintendo accounts and other IPs of gaming software. We intend to build a lasting rapport. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop this right here, because this is where I don't know if ranting is the right word for it, but I just kind of need to speak my piece on this a little bit. And if you want to be able to adjust smoothly to the next generation, it's easy. The reason why you're able to adjust so smoothly from the Wii U to the Switch was because you communicated very clearly that the Switch was something different. You didn't do that with the Wii U. You just attached a letter onto it, and even I, as a hardcore Nintendo fan, was confused by it at first. I just really thought, well, this thing looks exactly like the Wii. Like, it took me a minute to realize that it had completely different specs and that it was something completely different. So even I was confused when I saw the presentation for it. Because I thought, wow, that looks really good, but then it also looked like the Wii. So if you made it look completely different, and you basically just said it's the Wii 2, or if you had basically communicated very clearly from the beginning that it was a completely different console, I think it would have sold a heck of a lot better. That's just my, because even when you showed off the 3DS, I understood it was a completely different system. You know, it's like, hey, it's 3D. These games don't look like this on the DS. It's got a circle pad. You know, it's very clearly a very different system. You know, it's got gyroscope in there. It's obviously very different from what the DS is. Very clearly different. You know, I didn't get that. Other than the fact you showed off a gamepad, I didn't get that from the Wii U. When you showed off the Switch, though, you very clearly showed what it was. Hey, it's this hardware here. Look at how cool these games are. And oh look, I'm holding this, but look, I can pull these off. Isn't this cool? And I can play them like this. You want to see something else cooler? These suckers slide onto the side. You pull this up. It's a portable. Like, you very clearly showed how different it is. So one, like I said in the previous video, you need to just keep the Switch name, and you just need to basically make it a little bit beefier to people understand that, look, this is the exact same thing that you already know and love, just with better hardware. And again, maybe some of the cooler features like what we talked about, where maybe, you know, and I'm going to have a part 2 on this, because I realized there was some stuff that I left out of that video. But, you know, just like different ways of like basically showing, look, this thing is different because it's got improved Joy-Cons, or it's got these better features to it. But also name it the Switch 2, you know, or, you know, Switch Forward, or whatever you want to call it, to where people are basically very clear that this is another Switch, same member of the Switch family, but a continuation of it. Almost like the Super Nintendo. Even if you want to call it the Super Switch, which I've heard some people throw that name around. But even if you did that, people would understand, look, this is the Switch, but it's a Super Switch. It's a more advanced, more powerful Switch that also does the same thing. But also, the easiest thing to do, like you were talking about, let me go back to this here. Like you were talking about whether to be able to adjust smoothly to the next generation, is to basically make it backwards compatible. Because that was something that was great about the Wii and the DS, was when you went to the Wii U and you went to the DS, when you went to the Wii and the DS, they were backwards compatible. The DS had a Game Boy slot, the Wii could play GameCube games. When you went to the Wii U, you could play Wii games, and the 3DS had the ability to play DS games. So keeping that backwards compatibility is easy, and then the obstacles in the imminent future about how to transition to the next console is exactly what you said here. Continue launching new software on the Nintendo Switch, just like they are now on the PS5. What are they doing on the PS5 right now? They're continuing to launch games that are PS4 and improved on PS5. You did the same thing with the new Nintendo 3DS. You had Hyrule Warriors that came out, and he said now on the new Nintendo Switch it runs even better. Easy. Hey, we know you love Mario Odyssey. Now imagine running Mario Odyssey in 4K, 1330p, whatever resolution, because it's going to be upscaled. We already know that no console actually does 4K, it upscales it. So even if it's a 1080p image that is bumped up to 1330 or whatever, it looks better, it runs smoother, it's going to be like a whole new experience for you. And now here's DLC for Mario Odyssey while you wait for the next Mario game. Boom. You got that. Breath of the Wild 2. We know you're looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2. You switch owners got it right now. But look, if you want to, here is an improved system that makes the game run better, that makes the game look better. That's all you got to do. Now, I don't think it's going to be a 2023 thing. I think that they've got their setup for at least 2023, but I believe maybe 2024. It wouldn't surprise me if by the end of 2023 we have some kind of a September Direct, or maybe even at the Video Game Awards show, we get some kind of a sneak peek at this thing, and it's like, oh yeah, it's coming March. We're going to start off the fiscal year of 2024 with a brand new system. I don't know, we'll see. Only time will tell on that. But again, this just seems easy. You know, I understand why they are concerned and why it's a big deal for them, because they don't want that drop off. They don't want that drop off of losing basically over half their install base like they did from the Wii to the Wii U, because they don't have very clear communication about what it is. But the easiest way is just to use numbers, Nintendo. Just use numbers. You know, I mean, I'm going to buy it regardless. I bought all Nintendo consoles, every single one. I've supported them from the beginning for as long as I've been able to buy consoles. So, and even when I was a kid, one of my first systems was an NES. So, I mean, there you go. But the simple matter of the fact is that it just seems easy. Like, again, when we went from the NES to the SNES, we knew what it was. Hey, look, SNES, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah, this thing is better because it's super. And I understand that was kind of the whole point of the Wii U, was basically similar to what we're talking about now, where it's like, look, it's using the same controllers